It started with the smallest lie. We were doing bills. One of those quiet, routine evenings when everything feels normal until it doesn't. I was at the kitchen table sorting mail. She was across from me, nursing a mug of tea she hadn't touched in 20 minutes. Eyes glazed over the way they get when she's pretending to read something she's already read twice. The envelope wasn't hidden. That's what still gets me. It wasn't stuffed in a purse or buried in her car. It was in the recycling bin, folded between a gas bill and a catalog we never subscribed to. A printout from an online ticket confirmation, standard email receipt, black ink, theater logo. I unfolded it out of idle curiosity, not suspicion. That's how betrayal likes to show up. Mundane, harmless. But the second I saw the timestamp, my body went cold. Tuesday, 2:20 p.m. 2 tickets. I blinked, reread it. Then checked the date. Last Tuesday. 4 days ago. While I was in back-to-back meetings across town. She'd texted me that morning, saying she planned to stay home and do laundry. Said she was tired. Said she hadn't slept. Why are there 2 tickets for a movie on Tuesday? I asked. My voice didn't shake. I wasn't even angry yet. It was confusion, pure and still wet with hope. She looked up like she hadn't heard me the first time. What? I held up the paper. You want to see a movie? At 2:20 p.m. Tuesday. You told me you were home all day. For a second, she didn't move. Then she blinked once. Oh, that. I forgot. You forgot. It wasn't a big deal. Who were you with? Her shoulders twitched. Not a shrug. Not quite a flinch. I don't remember. You don't forget the name of the person you see a romantic drama with on a Tuesday afternoon. Especially not when the showtime only plays in one format. Theater 5, the boutique room. Love seat-style sofas. Reclining couples seating. No singles allowed. You don't remember who you sat next to? I wasn't really paying attention. I just needed to get out of the house. You told me you were here. You told me you didn't leave. She looked at me with something like exasperation. Not fear. Not guilt. Just the slight narrowing of her eyes, the tightening of her lips, like I'd asked her why she forgot to defrost the chicken. I don't see why this is a big deal, she said. It's just a movie. 2 tickets. Love seat seating. A film about infidelity and rediscovery. The irony didn't even try to be subtle. I didn't push further. Not yet. Instead, I excused myself. Said I needed to clear my head. I left the house with the paper still in my hand and sat in my car in the driveway. Engine off, windows fogging with my breath. That's where the panic started. Not loud, but low and systemic, like mold in drywall. I looked up the theater website. Double-checked the layout. Theater 5, as I remembered, only allowed sofa seating. Intimate design, they'd called it. I checked the movie. What We Left Behind. A romantic drama about 2 people cheating on their spouses and finding redemption. Not the kind of thing she'd ever watch. Certainly not alone. There are moments in a marriage that don't look like breaking points until they've already happened. You don't always see the fracture, but you feel the pressure before the crack. I started remembering things I'd forgotten to be suspicious of. Her phone face down, always. The subtle shift in her schedule. The way she started leaving laundry folded in the wrong drawers. Mine with hers, hers with mine. Not like someone careless. Like someone distracted. I thought about the perfume I smelled last Thursday that I couldn't name. Warmer. Spicier than hers. Not on her body, but faintly in our sheets. I hadn't asked. I hadn't wanted to know. Back inside, she was back on the couch, phone in hand, legs curled under a blanket that still carried her shampoo scent. I watched her for a long moment. Do you want to talk about the movie? I asked from the hallway. She didn't even look up. Not really. Her tea was still full. And that night, for the first time in months, she turned to face the other way in bed. Not angry. Not upset. Just absent. That's how I knew something was gone. Not stolen. Given away. and the person she gave it to wasn't me. The receipt stayed on my nightstand. I didn't fold it, didn't hide it, just left it there, like a splinter I refused to pull. Every morning I'd see it beside my watch, and every night I'd put my phone down next to it, screen dark and silent. She never mentioned it again. Not once. That Friday, I faked a half day at work. Told my boss I had a dentist appointment. Instead, I parked 3 blocks away from the theater. Walked past it twice. Sat on a bench with a coffee gone cold just to watch the lunchtime foot traffic. I wasn't expecting anything. I didn't think she'd show again. But sometimes when a web's been spun, the spider can't help but return to the center. At 2:05 p.m., she appeared. Jacket open, hair down, that soft, deliberate stride she uses when she's somewhere she doesn't want to be seen. She wasn't alone. The man walking beside her was taller, mid-40s maybe, clean shave, navy button down with the sleeves rolled just above his forearms. He leaned toward her as they spoke, nothing dramatic, but familiar, intimate. A laugh between them I hadn't heard from her in years. They didn't hold hands, but they didn't need to. They went inside Theater 5 again. I didn't follow. I already knew what they were watching. Instead, I walked to the back of the parking lot, where employee cars were clustered behind a rusted dumpster. Pulled my phone out. Started searching. I knew a guy. Cameron. We'd gone to college together. Lost touch after he got into private surveillance. He owed me a favor. One night after a bender, he'd wrecked my dad's old Honda, and I took the fall. I never called it in. I called him now. I need a plate run in 2 weeks of quiet eyes, I said. Who's the target? My wife. And the man she thinks I haven't seen. There was a long pause. Then the sound of a chair creaking. Jesus, he muttered. You sure? She went to a movie about cheaters. Twice. On a workday. With someone she didn't name. Send me a photo. I hadn't taken one yet. I waited in the alley behind the theater until 4:17 p.m., when they came out again. I stayed behind a column, phone camera tilted just over my knuckle. Snapped one picture. Sent it. Cameron texted back. Give me 24 hours. I'll get you more than a name. I went home before she did. Cooked dinner. Her favorite. Seared salmon, glazed carrots, and mashed potatoes whipped so smooth they could have come from a restaurant. She was home by 6:30. Walked in with a plastic bag from Target like she'd spent the afternoon choosing hand soap and shampoo. You didn't have to cook, she said, surprised. I just smiled. Felt like it. She kissed my cheek. Light. Automatic. We sat. Ate. She talked about traffic. A coworker's new baby. The office coffee machine breaking. All lies. All rehearsed. I watched her hands. The way her fingers curled around the fork. Her thumb brushed the rim of her wine glass. Slow. Thoughtful. Like someone tracing a memory. I was thinking, I said casually. Maybe we should do a date night. It's been a while. She looked up, mouth pausing at the rim of her glass. Then forced a smile. Yeah, that sounds nice. How about Tuesday? She hesitated. Just half a beat. Actually, I might be working late Tuesday. Big client meeting. Wednesday. I nodded. Wednesday works. She took another sip. Didn't look at me. That night, she undressed in the bathroom with the door closed. I heard the water running longer than usual. Heard the soft slide of the window being opened. Like she wanted the steam to wash something away. Tuesday came. Cameron sent me a message at 1:10 p.m. Name, Daniel Thorne. Divorced. 2 years ago. Software consultant. Drives a 2022 Volvo XC60. Navy blue. Plates match. He's not her coworker. Then another message. He used to be yours. You worked with him. 6 years ago. Different office. Same project rotation. I stared at the photo attached. Daniel. I remembered him now. The kind of guy who shook hands too tightly and always added women on LinkedIn with a "we should catch up sometime" message. I never liked him. Too charming in a cheap cologne sort of way. She'd met him at my company party once. I introduced them, watched her smile at something he said, and I, like a fool, forgot. At 2:15 p.m., I parked one row over from the theater entrance, sunglasses on, seat reclined just enough. When they pulled up, I didn't even blink. They walked in together. No hesitation. No shame. This time, I followed. I didn't go into Theater 5. I didn't need to. I stood outside, just out of view of the staff, and watched them disappear behind the curtain. Watched Daniel's hand brush the small of her back. I stood there a long time. Long enough for the previews to end. Long enough for the sick heat in my stomach to settle into something cold and precise. Then I left. I went home, and I started printing everything. Every receipt. Every photo. Every detail Cameron had sent me. And then I did something else. I logged into our shared streaming account and changed the password. She wouldn't notice immediately, but she would, and it was only the beginning. By Wednesday, I'd built a dossier. I didn't know what else to call it. Everything had its place. Photos, receipts, a copy of the theater's seating chart, even a highlighted line from their online booking FAQ. Theater 5 is reserved for love seat pair seating only. I'd printed that one twice, just for the satisfaction. She came home late again that night. Not suspiciously late. Just enough to leave a shadow of doubt. Just enough to say, sorry, traffic, and have it sound believable. I had dinner already started. She kissed the top of my head and said it smelled amazing, and I wondered what Daniel Thorne's kitchen smelled like. If he ever cooked. If she even cared. We ate. She talked about a new intern at her office who wore too much cologne and printed everything in color. I nodded, asked follow-up questions like I hadn't already mapped out her real day hour by hour. "You're quiet lately," she said as we cleaned up. "Everything okay?" I looked at her. Really looked. The curve of her spine as she rinsed a plate. The way she still hummed softly when she wasn't thinking. All of it felt like a habit. A performance. "Just tired," I said. "I haven't been sleeping well." She nodded. "Me neither." That was the first honest thing she'd said in days. Later that night, I sat in my office with the door closed, scrolling through Daniel's social media. His accounts weren't locked. Not completely. There wasn't much vacation photos from a year ago, some work stuff, but one picture stopped me. A wine bar. 2 glasses. Just a sliver of a hand in the left corner of the frame. Red nail polish. Same shade my wife wore last Tuesday. I checked the date. Same day. 2 hours after the movie. I stared at it for a long time. Then I clicked through the comments. There weren't many. Just one, from someone named Mia.T. She's not what she says she is. But I guess you'll figure that out too. I blinked. Checked the profile. Private. But the preview photo was a face I remembered vaguely. Not someone I knew, but someone I'd seen once. At a conference. With Daniel. His ex, maybe. I hesitated, then sent a message. "I think we're both in the middle of something. Call me if you're willing to talk." I left my number. I wasn't sure why. I wasn't even sure what I wanted from her. But something about the bitterness in her message felt familiar. Too familiar. She called the next morning. I was in the car when the screen lit up with an unknown number. The kind you answer without knowing why. Her voice was low. Controlled. "Is this Jacob?" "Yes." "This is Mia." I wasn't going to respond. But then I saw your wife again. I sat up straighter. "What?" "Yesterday. Outside the bookstore on Howell Street. With Daniel." She kissed him goodbye like she's done it 100 times. Not shy. Not careful. The skin on my neck prickled. I knew the place. Small, quiet, tucked between a closed-down florist and an overpriced gift shop. How long have they been? I started, but couldn't finish. Long enough, she said. And long enough for him to lie to both of us. There was a silence between us. Mutual. Bitter. He told me it was just me, she said finally. Said he wasn't seeing her anymore. That he ended it months ago. But he hasn't. No. And now he's lying to her too. Said he's taking a consulting job out of town. Said he can't be around as much. But I checked. There's no new contract. No flights booked. He's just moving her out of the picture. I gripped the wheel. We're trying to. We're trying to, she echoed. We were quiet again. Then she said something that shifted everything. He does this. Has for years. Cycles through women. Keeps them separated. Makes them feel special. But when they start asking for more, he runs. My breath caught. She told me, Mia continued, in the beginning, that you were the one who was cold. That she needed someone who actually saw her. I laughed. A dry, humorless sound. Of course she did. Does that sound like you? No, I said. But maybe I made it easy to believe. I've been working a lot. Distracted. We've been drifting for months. But I thought it was fixable. She said the same thing about Daniel. Before she started kissing him outside bookshops. Mia sighed. The kind of sound that came from deep exhaustion. Look, I'm not calling you to compare wounds. I'm calling you because I think she doesn't know who Daniel really is. And you should. What do you mean? There was a pause. Then her voice changed. Harder. Calmer. He tried to get me to open a joint account. Said it was to help consolidate bills when we were serious. I didn't. But I think he's trying again. With your wife. I didn't respond. Because I was thinking. Thinking about the $200 missing from our savings last week. About the new credit card I didn't recognize in her wallet. About how she'd said, casually, oh, it's just something for Miles. Do you think she knows? I asked. That he's a manipulator? No. I think she's in too deep. She thinks she's in love. And if he walks away, she'll fall apart. I nodded to myself. Then something dark formed in my chest. Not just pain. Not jealousy. Strategy. I think it's time they both saw each other clearly, I said. Mia's silence was approving. I was hoping you'd say that. The plan wasn't complex. It didn't need to be. People like Daniel Thorne didn't expect consequences. And people like my wife, people deep in the myth of an affair, they don't expect the floor to vanish beneath them. Mia and I met in person for the first time that Friday. A cafe near the river, one of those minimalist places with exposed brick and a chalkboard menu that never changed. She wore dark glasses and didn't take them off. Said it made her feel less seen. She slid a manila folder across the table without a word. Inside, transaction records, screenshots of messages, and one particular email sent from Daniel to a personal Gmail account he'd titled, Next Chapter Planning. The message read, Meet me at the bank next week. I want your name on it too. Then we can look at places in Asheville like we talked about. She'll be fine. He's too passive to fight back. She. Not Mia. Her. My wife. I didn't speak. Just stared at the line, underlined in Mia's pen. I hacked the account, she said, not looking at me. It wasn't hard. He used the same password he gave me for Netflix. You're sure she doesn't know about this? She thinks she's special. That he's building a life with her. He tells them all that. I looked up. How many? 5 I know of. 2 before me. 1 overlap. And now yours. I let the folder fall closed. Mia leaned back in her chair. I want to hurt him. But not the way he hurt me. I want him to feel the heat closing in. Slowly. I want her to see him, I said. Not the fantasy she's been sleeping with. The man he really is. Then let's show them both. She smiled then. Just slightly. It didn't reach her eyes. We spent the next week setting the stage. I started by playing dumb. More affection at home. Suggesting weekends away. Surprising her with small things, coffee, flowers, her favorite dumb little chocolate with the caramel center. At first she seemed grateful. But then it turned. She pulled back. Tense. Distracted. 1 foot already out the door. Thursday night, I walked into the bedroom and she was on her phone, thumb hovering above a message she clearly didn't want me to see. She locked the screen too quickly. Smiled too late. Everything okay? I asked. She nodded, then turned off the lamp. Just tired. She was leaving emotionally, prepping her exit. The following day, Mia intercepted Daniel. She waited outside the consulting firm he visited twice a month. Said she ran into him by accident. Told him she was moving on. That she forgave him. That she hoped he found happiness. Daniel, ever the opportunist, invited her to coffee. She went. Sat across from him like she wasn't building a bomb in her lap. By the end of the meeting, he was convinced she was harmless. Even hugged her. What he didn't know was that she'd planted a small recorder in the pocket of his coat when they embraced. His voice, smug and too confident, played back later in my car. She thinks she's in control, but she's a mess. I'll get her to sign the papers next week. Then I'm out. No loose ends. Her. My wife. It was perfect. I booked dinner reservations at a restaurant neither of them could resist, an old favorite of ours. I surprised her with the plan on Monday. She looked startled. You made a reservation? Thought it was time we talked. Just us. She hesitated, then agreed. That same day, Mia messaged Daniel. Told him she'd overheard something about my wife doubting him. That she was thinking of confessing to me. That he needed to act fast if he wanted to secure the money. He took the bait. Daniel messaged my wife and moved their next meetup. Same time, same street, different restaurant. That night, I watched her get ready with more care than I'd seen in months. Soft makeup, favorite dress, red lipstick, even though she always told me it made her feel too obvious. She thought she was dressing for Daniel. We left the house together, but I said I forgot my wallet. Go ahead, I told her as I stood in the doorway. I'll meet you there. She hesitated, then kissed my cheek. It was automatic and utterly empty. I watched her car drive off before grabbing the small camera Mia had lent me. I was already wired. Audio, too. We'd rehearsed this. 20 minutes later, I was seated at the other restaurant. Daniel showed up 5 minutes after her. He kissed her on the cheek. She looked around, smiling, nervous. They ordered wine. And then, without warning, I walked in. It was like cutting a wire with no idea what it connects to. Her back stiffened first. Then her hand slid from Daniel's wrist like it had touched something scalding. Daniel turned, slowly. Like someone pretending this wasn't what it looked like. It was worse. Mind if I join? I asked, sliding into the third chair like I had every right. She opened her mouth, closed it, then tried again. What are you? Daniel stood. Jacob, right? I think there's been a... I know who you are, Daniel. We worked together once. You were just louder back then. He blinked, tried to recover. This isn't what it looks like. I pulled the recorder from my pocket, set it on the table, pressed play. I'll get her to sign the papers next week. Then I'm out. No loose ends. The voice filled the silence between us like spilled gasoline. Her eyes widened. Her lips parted slightly, as if she might still try to lie. But the sound of his voice, the casual cruelty in it, knocked the wind out of her. I looked at her, at him, at the wreckage in front of me. And for the first time in weeks, I smiled. But not the way she remembered. The silence after the recording ended wasn't quiet. It had a sound. The clink of her wine glass as it trembled against the table. The slight hitch in her breath. The way Daniel's jaw worked, back teeth grinding like he was chewing on panic. He was the first to speak. That's illegal, he said, voice low, trying to claw back some kind of footing. Recording someone without their knowledge. In this state, I interrupted. Only one party needs to consent. I smiled. And I did. He looked to her like she might back him up. She didn't. She was frozen, staring at the recorder like it had grown teeth. I should go, Daniel muttered. He reached for his coat. Sit down, I said, sharper now. He paused. I'm not done. I turned to her. 2 weeks ago, I found a movie receipt. 2 tickets. Weekday matinee. You said you hadn't left the house. Her face crumpled, just slightly. That crack of guilt showing for the first time. You told me you didn't remember who you went with. Silence. But it was him. You went with him. She nodded, barely. Daniel sat back down. Slowly. Stiffly. Like a man realizing the only way out was through the fire. He told you he loved you, didn't he? I asked. She swallowed. Yes. Promised you a new life. Her voice was quieter. Yes. I turned to Daniel. And you? How many women have you told that to? He opened his mouth. I cut him off. 5. That's how many Mia counted. Including her. Including my wife. His face paled. By the way, I added, leaning forward, Mia sends her regards. That landed. His eyes narrowed. But the confidence was gone. I turned back to her. You were never going to tell me, were you? She shook her head. I didn't know how. I wanted to laugh. Or scream. Or both. But instead I reached into my coat and pulled out the second envelope. Slid it across the table. What's this? She asked. Your future. She opened it with trembling fingers. Inside, copies of her messages to Daniel. Bank activity. A printed screenshot of the account she didn't know I had access to. The one where $2,000 vanished over the last month. Right after her new credit card was approved. She flipped through the pages, faster now, panic rising behind her eyes. You were going to leave? I said. Weren't you? She said nothing. Start a new life? Give him everything. Still nothing. And what was I supposed to be? I asked. Collateral? A footnote in your news story. She finally looked up. It wasn't like that. I waited. Then what was it? She opened her mouth. No answer came out. I stood, pulled a small box from my coat pocket, placed it gently on the table. Her wedding ring sat inside. I'd taken it from her jewelry tray the night before. She stared at it like it had bitten her. I looked at Daniel. You should know. Your boss got an anonymous tip this morning. About your consulting fraud. The double billing. The offshore account. His eyes widened. You don't have proof. I don't need it, I said. I just needed the suspicion. Daniel stood. Tried to muster something like authority. You've made your point. I leaned in. No, I said. I haven't. Then I whispered the name of the woman from his past Mia had uncovered. The one with a restraining order. The one he never mentioned. His whole body went still. I wonder what your current firm would think of that, I said. Especially now that they've been CC'd on a few anonymous emails. He backed away from the table. Turned to her. Come on, he said. Let's get out of here. She didn't move. He stared at her, blinking. I said, I'm not going anywhere with you, she whispered. And in that moment, he finally saw it too. He was alone. Daniel stormed out. Coat half on. Eyes down. The restaurant went silent around us for a moment, then resumed. Forks clinked. Conversation returned. Just another couple unraveling in public. She sat across from me, hands shaking. You did all this? I nodded. She blinked, a tear slipping down one cheek. And I didn't care. You should go home, I said, standing. Your stuff will be boxed by Sunday. I'll be staying at a friend's. She reached for my hand. Jacob. I stepped back. Just once. I don't hate you, I said. But I see you now. Her face collapsed, but I didn't wait to watch her fall apart. I walked out. Mia was waiting down the block, leaning against a lamppost with her coat pulled tight. How'd it go? She asked. He folded. She broke. Mia nodded. They always do. I handed her the envelope. Daniel's already spiraling. This will finish him. She tucked it under her arm like it weighed nothing. I hope she learns something from this, Mia said. She won't, I said. But I did. She looked at me, curious. What? I turned toward the city lights, sharp and clear against the cold. Never mistake silence for safety, and never ignore a receipt that doesn't belong. I didn't go back to the house. Not even once. I let her have it for the week, at least. Told her through a short, unfurnished email that I'd be back Sunday evening to collect what I needed. No calls. No arguments. Just time. She replied within 10 minutes. A long message. Apologies, promises, fragments of emotion, of ownership. I made a mistake. I didn't mean to hurt you. I didn't know how to stop once it started. I didn't reply. Because that was the thing she had known how to stop. Every time she bought a ticket. Every time she looked at me and said she was tired. Every time she kissed him and told herself I didn't matter anymore. She chose not to stop. Mia kept her word. 2 days after the dinner, Daniel's employer launched an internal audit. The firm suspended him pending review. His phone number disconnected 2 days later. His LinkedIn vanished. By Friday, Mia messaged me a photo, Daniel outside his condo, pacing. Alone. Jobless. Cornered. He's unraveling, she wrote. Good, I replied. I didn't feel proud of any of it. Not exactly. I wasn't walking away with some hollow sense of victory. It felt more like putting down a fire I didn't start, one that had been burning for years before I noticed the smoke. When I returned to the house that Sunday, the first thing I noticed was the silence. The kind that hums with absence. She wasn't there. Just a note on the kitchen counter. Jacob, I'm staying at my sister's for now. I know I have no right to ask anything, but please don't shut me out completely. Can we talk when you're ready? I'll wait. In. I folded it once and dropped it in the trash. The boxes were already in the hallway. I packed the rest of my things in silence. Suits, books, tools from the shed. The keepsakes I actually cared about. I stood in her bedroom one last time. The bed was made. Her side neater than mine, as always. The photo frame on the nightstand still held our wedding picture. That surprised me. We looked happy in it. Not performative happy. Real. Or maybe I was just young enough then to believe anything real couldn't fall apart. I took the photo, pulled it from the frame, and left the empty glass behind. On my way out, I paused by the front door. That was where I first kissed her. Where I told her I loved her. Where she lied to my face and said she hadn't left the house. I left the key on the hook and shut the door behind me. I didn't look back. The apartment I found was small, boxy, and smelled faintly of paint. But it was mine. The rent was decent. The neighbors kept to themselves. I bought a second-hand desk for the study and unpacked my things in the same order I'd always done it. Books first, then the coffee mugs, then the tools. That first week alone was strange. Quiet, but not heavy. More like floating. She sent one more message. I understand if you can't forgive me, but I'm still hoping. I didn't answer. I just blocked the number. There was nothing left to say. I kept going. Each day a little steadier. Work became a welcome distraction. I stopped checking the time at 2:20 p.m. I stopped looking for Volvo SUVs. I stopped wondering where she was. The receipt stopped haunting me. Mia and I texted occasionally. No drama. No bitterness. Just remnants of wartime allies. She told me she was moving to the coast. Said she wanted to start over somewhere with less memory in the walls. I told her I understood. She said, I hope you let yourself fall in love again. I didn't reply right away, because love wasn't the thing I feared. What I feared was mistaking comfort for truth, projection for connection. Still, a month later, I walked into a bookstore and caught myself talking to the cashier about a novel I hadn't even read. She smiled, asked for my name. I told her, and I felt something shift. Not everything has to burn to be real. Some nights, I still think about the ticket. How ordinary it looked. How something that simple could change everything. It wasn't a fight, or a confession, or a text message. Just a piece of paper left in the wrong bin. But that's the thing about betrayal. It's not always loud. Sometimes, it's a shadow cast by something you didn't even know had shape. She thought she could love someone else in secret, that the world would bend around her guilt and leave the consequences behind. But every lie leaves a receipt, and every receipt has a timestamp. and every timestamp becomes the moment you can't go back from. That's what this story really is. Not revenge, not heartbreak, just a time. Tuesday, 2:20 p.m., when the truth started counting down, and the marriage expired in silence. Thanks for watching. If this story pulled you in, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss the next confession. Until next time, take care and watch who you trust.